Hello, welcome to the pre-bid meeting for the North Ash Street Sewer Irrigation Improvement Project. My name is Chris Damel. I'm the project manager for this. Bear with me for these Zoom meetings. I have a bit of a rough time sitting here in my home talking to people via a camera. So I'm sure we're all a little weird about this stuff. So anyway, I'm going to try to motor through this stuff, let everybody get to the question and answer portion. Again, I'm Chris Damel, project manager. I think joining us are Sam Atkins, city engineer, and John Vasey, the project engineer. Both those guys are also familiar with this project. And so if you need to talk to them, they can get to me or whatever. They can answer questions too. We like to know who we're talking to. So if you could send us your contact information at the email shown here, we'll make sure you're on our list. You can also sign up on our webpage to be on our mail distribution list. You get all of our project bid releases that way. I don't have that URL right here right now, but it is available on the engineering webpage on fruta.org. We will be emailing out addenda and all of that sort of stuff onto the project details. We did the design, we did all the survey work for this. We will be managing construction and inspecting as well. Our project summary is going to be removal and replacement of sanitary sewer lines and manholes, an installation of an irrigation line, as well as sewer services and irrigation services for about, I believe it's 12 houses on North Ash Street. If you haven't visited the site yet, it's an extremely narrow street, so there are going to be a few issues as far as maybe where you stage. I encourage you to take a ride out there after this meeting to make sure you're familiar with the area. Going to be probably some groundwater and possibly unstable soil conditions. We've seen it all in Fruta except for nice, good soil. So expect conditions to be a little bit wet. Groundwater mitigation is on the contractor, and we've had some issues with this before. Just expect some wet conditions. Let's see. Construction schedule. Today's the pre-bid, obviously. Project question is tomorrow at noon. The addenda, we'll try to get it out tomorrow afternoon by the end of the day. Friday is the bid opening. Make sure that you drop your bid off at the Civic Center before 1:30. We will be holding a virtual meeting there. However, we're not allowing anybody in the building right now. So if you want to watch the bid opening, you can. You can see it at the link below, but we do need your hard bid before 1:30 at the Civic Center. Notice of award, basically as soon as we can, hopefully next week. Contract signed, notice to proceed shortly after that. We'd like to, really the intention here is to get this done before irrigation comes in. Usually it's around April 1st here in Fruta. We are pretty close to the Ranchman's Ditch Canal here, so it does seem like the groundwater conditions get worse the farther into the irrigation season we go. So we do want to make sure that we're buttoned up before the irrigation water comes on, especially because we're going to be installing a new irrigation line up the street as part of the project, and we'd like that water to be available for the homeowners there as soon as we can. Let's see, cold weather conditions continue and asphalt is not available. We will extend the contract to allow for paving. That is the only reason we'll extend this contract. Usually asphalt's available by then, but depends on the temperatures. So we'll see. But the underground work, including the irrigation line and all the service lines, need to be in the ground by the time irrigation water comes on. No liquidated damages, no incentives on this project. We think there's plenty of time to get it done, however. As far as permitting goes, I don't think this is a big enough project to worry about a stormwater permit. It's not that big. However, any of that permit is on the contractor. Any dewatering permits, which may be necessary, also on the contractor. City of Fruta does require a work in the right-of-way permit. It basically just allows us to inform emergency services where the roads are going to be closed and where the detours are. So there's no cost to the contractor for that, but you do need to do it before you start work. Okay, traffic control. What we'd like to do is we'd like to allow a full closure on Ash Street. I don't know any other way to do it. It's a very narrow street. This will allow you to stage equipment and materials along that street. Also, since some of the work is going to be going on in Paber Avenue, we are going to allow full closure of Paber for up to 3 consecutive days to allow for that work to get done. Any work that isn't done, including surface restoration, which obviously can't be asphalt, but millings or some kind of all-weather surface, if that extends beyond the 3-day period, the contractor is going to have to flag or come up with some other way to get two-way traffic around it. So maximum full closure of Paber for 3 days. Once you're in Ash, it can be closed fully except for local traffic until the project's done. We do request that you provide homeowners as much notice as possible. So that can be door hangers or however you want to do it. Okay, on to construction comments. Stormwater management and permitting is a responsibility of the contractor, including any BMP installations. It's a fairly visible area in Fruita. Discharging into the gutter is not going to be allowed. It's going to be, you're going to have to figure that out. We'll work with you on that, but it is on the contractor to provide a permit for that if needed and a plan. Let's see. Again, I kind of want to emphasize that conditions may be wet, so figure that in. You know, we're not going to allow the project to blow up because of groundwater. I don't mean to scare people, but just be aware it is there. Also, the next note there, utilities shown on the plans were based on records and utility locates. In the past, we have seen unidentified utilities in the older part of town. Don't expect to encounter any. However, it may happen. So just, you know, gentle touch in there, no ripping and tearing. We've also had issues with vibration related damage to structures adjacent to the trench in areas like this. So we encourage people to minimize the vibration as much as possible. Let's see, the street is extremely narrow. I believe the asphalt mat is 18 feet or less. So in order to avoid losing more than we need to, we want to keep the trench as tight as possible. I think we specified a 6-foot maximum width on the plans. We do want to keep that. It is going to require a trench box to install this stuff. We're not going to allow any sort of trench layback or anything like that. Need to keep it nice and tight. Just be aware of that and build that in. One thing I don't believe I included in the bid documentation is more information regarding tracer lines. We do have a section in the City of Fruita spec book on what kind of wire we want and that sort of stuff. It's in the irrigation section, so it's not super easy to find, but it is in there. I don't have it with me right now, but I can certainly provide that with the final addenda that's going to go out hopefully tomorrow afternoon. We will be requiring tracer wire, so make sure you bid that in. Also, contractors may or may not be familiar with the recent changes in the utility locating laws that require quite a bit more documentation of where stuff is when it goes in the ground. What we're going to start doing is we're going to start GPSing all the bends, all the fittings, all the tie-in points, things like that. So expect that. We will do that. We will perform the survey, and you know, I'm 5 minutes away from the job site, so I'll get out there as soon as I can with our GPS. I don't expect that to be a problem as far as delaying work, but it is going to be required that you leave all of those fittings, T's, Y's, bends, anything where anything changes direction. You're going to have to leave that open until we come and survey it. Just be aware of that. So bidding requirements and submittals. This is standard stuff for all of our bids. It's required a bid bond. All these things. You guys are probably familiar with all this. I'd like to go on to the questions section now. Kind of hate doing these virtual meetings, so I'm breezing through this. So if I'm going too fast, please raise your hand and we'll answer your question. Have received a number of questions so far. One thing I did get wrong on the original documentation was I called out gasket joints for the T, the repair coupler, and the 4-inch T's. We did a little more homework on that. As far as the repair coupling in Paber, we do want that Spears Manufacturing hammer-on repair coupling. Part numbers right there. Kind of gives you an idea what we want there. Everything else is going to be a glue type fitting. No gasketed fittings except for that one. Got a question on expected sewage bypass flow. I believe there are 12 houses there. There is one that's a duplex. I think there's 2 taps there. Part of the reason we're replacing this line is we can't get our camera into it. So we don't have great records on exactly how many taps itself are out there, but you can expect just local flows for the sewage flow. There's no additional flow other than those houses. We got a question about Schedule 40 fittings instead of SDR 26 on the irrigation lines. Yes, the city will accept Schedule 40 fittings for that. As far as sewer tap fittings, plans show 12. We do show 12. There's going to be another one installed along the west side. There's an undeveloped lot in there that we want to make sure we get out of the street so they don't have to come back and tear up the street again. So there will be another one set in there. It probably will be a sort of a field fit. So we'll work with the contractor on that. Okay, trench detail shows construction fabric where directed by engineer. Please specify what type of fabric. We're going to use Mirify 140N. We've not really had, at least I'm not super familiar with any projects that we've had to use fabric in the bottom of the trench like that. But if we do, it's going to be Mirify 140N or an equivalent. Here we had a question on closing Paber and ash. Kind of went through that before. Yes, we will allow a full closure of Paber for 3 consecutive days. That doesn't mean Friday and then Saturday and Sunday off and then Monday and Tuesday. It means 3 consecutive days. So Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever. Anything after those 3 days, it's going to have to be flaggers or some other way of getting two-way traffic around the work site. I think that's adequate amount of time for doing what we want to do, but that's up to you guys. Okay. The lime subgrade removal item, which we do expect to find in there, is a lump sum. Will the city consider changing it? Yes, we are going to change it to a per square yard item. Just so you guys are familiar, I'm sure a lot of you have done work in Fruta before. It's a very hard layer. Jackhammering tends to not work. Any sort of hammer off the end of an excavator just beats the heck out of every other structure around it. So we're not going to allow that. What has worked in the past is saw cutting and removing it in smaller sections. We don't want to damage any houses. So you're going to have to do it that way or some other non-vibratory, non-damaging way. Yes, we're going to change that to a square yard item with the bid schedule that we released after this. Okay, street striping. No, we're not going to do any striping or pavement markings as part of this project. The city has a walk behind striper that we will touch up striping if we need to. I don't anticipate it's going to be that big of an area if we do. Okay, got a question about a 4-inch Mueller valve instead of the valve that was listed. I believe it was a Norco valve that was listed. Yes, we will accept a 4-inch Mueller valve as long as it meets the rest of the specs that were listed there. How to submit your bid. We do need to get your bid as a hard copy at the city building at 325 East Aspen by 1:30 on Friday. If you want to mail it, that's okay. It's just got to get there by 1:30. Typically, people will drop it off at the door, and we timestamp it, and then we'll open it in the order in which it's received. I I think the link for the bid opening follows here. So it's going to be kind of like this. You're just going to log in to view it all. It's usually pretty fast, hopefully painless. So I think, Shannon, could you scroll down a bit? I think that's all we got. So we're going to open it up to questions now.
Great, thanks, Chris. And again, for those attending, you may ask questions either via the chat box at the bottom of your toolbar, or you can raise your hand so you'll be unmuted. The raise hand button, if you joined via the URL, is located in the middle of your toolbar. If you called in on the phone, you can dial *9 and we'll be notified that you've raised your hand to ask a question. So with that, we'll give it a little bit of time for questions. Again, please feel free to use the chat or raise your hand and you'll be unmuted in the order that we receive notice.
The question is the City Lagoon property available for dumping of unsuitable soils or removed lime subgrade? Yes, it is. The only thing we will not accept at the Lagoon site is plastic pipe, asphalt, I believe, I'll check on that, and concrete reinforced with rebar. Any lime subgrade, as long as there's no rebar in it or crushed plastic pipe, you can dispose of at the lagoons, as well as unsuitable soil.
All right, thanks, Chris. Looks like we do have another question. It says, on PD2, the paving section shows geogrid under the base course as directed by the engineer. How would you like this addressed in the bid?
Probably let me chew on that a bit. I can see that being an alternate bid item in the revised bid schedule. Typically, we don't need to use it, but I think we'll include that as an alternate bid item in the bid schedule. So we'll specify what we want, and again, look for that revised bid schedule tomorrow afternoon. I hope that answers that question.
All right, great. Thanks, Chris. Again, if anyone would like to ask a question, if you called in using the phone number, you can hit *9. You'll be unmuted in the order that we received that you'd like to ask a question. You can also hit your raise hand button on the middle of your toolbar if you joined via the URL. And you may also leave your question in the chat box. All right, looks like we have someone who's raised their hand. Matthew, I'll go ahead and unmute you now. You want to make sure you're just not muted on your end.
You guys hear me okay?
We can, thank you.
Perfect. So we're looking at the plan set with you had mentioned that the lines would need tracer wire. Does the irrigation wire need tracer wire as well, or is it just the water main and sewer?
It is everything that we put in the ground. So yeah, it'll be the irrigation line and the sewer lines, including the sewer service lines and the irrigation service lines. We're trying to get much tighter about this sort of thing.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, Matthew. All right, Chris, I'm not seeing any more questions or anyone raising their hand. If anyone wants to add anything else, that would be the time.
One other quick thing. We will accept questions until noon tomorrow. So if there are any questions that come up after this, feel free to email them, and we'll address those in the final addendum tomorrow too.
All right, and we do have someone else who raised their hand. Caller ending in 5669. I'll go ahead and unmute you now if you'll make sure you're not muted on your end. And if you called in via phone, you have to hit *6 to unmute yourself.
Hello?
Hey, we can hear you now. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. So Chris, I was just wondering if you would consider taking the curb and gutter out from the 6-inch concrete and putting it in with the sidewalk and doing a linear footage item for that. It makes my takeoff a lot easier.
Okay, yeah, I don't have a problem with that. To make I don't have a problem with that. I think we can do that. Let me float that around the office, but I don't see a problem with that.
Okay, I appreciate it.
Sure.
All right, thank you for the question. While we're waiting for any final questions, I will go ahead and put Chris's email address in the chat box just in case someone doesn't have it. All right, Chris, I'm not seeing anything else. I'll turn it over to you.
Okay. Well, I don't have anything else. Thanks for coming. Appreciate it. Hope you guys have a safe and successful rest of the year. Thanks for coming, and look forward to seeing your bids. Thank you.
Thank you.